right, so to continue, so basically on ITP Central, in 2013, what I did was I tried to tell everybody, like, yeah, religion, all these religions are just basically epiphenomena of Darwinism. You know, the reason why people adopt different religions is to maintain different beliefs within different ethnic tribes. That's why the Persians believe Shiite. That's why the Arabs believe Sunni. So they can have different beliefs so they can maintain separation and maintain their genetic distinction. And so what I was trying to argue was that, but even from the very offset, Christianity was just Darwinian, and I wanted to say that Judaism was just Darwinian. Like I said, the idea that, I said what I wanted to believe was that the Jews emerged from Canaanite serfs, who, as Finkelstein said, who rebelled against their masters. And it was kind of a Freudian Darwinian thing. I wanted to believe Freud and Darwin because it was against Christianity, and I knew that Christianity was what maintained the white race, and I wanted to destroy Christianity. So I wanted to say, yeah, Judaism was just emerged from Canaanite serfs, and they had Canaanite serf rebellions, kind of Marxist rebellions. So it really just emerged from Marxism. And that's why in the Bible they have a Sabbath, because that's the day where you don't have to work. And because they were slaves, so they had to work so much. And really at its core, it's Darwinian, because they knew that if you overwork people, then there's going to be revolutions, and revolutions aren't good for genes. So, we could say that all these 10 commandments and all the laws in the Bible come from God, but no. See, I wanted to destroy the religious. I wanted to destroy the idea of God, because I saw God as I was a Marxist. I saw God as maintaining white supremacy, the belief in God maintaining the status quo, maintaining order, because people fear God and then they fear going to hell, so they don't rebel. But I wanted rebellion. I wanted Marxist revolutions. I wanted Black Lives Matter revolutions. I wanted, but not necessarily black. I just wanted race mixing. So my idea was, so let's just dissolve all the borders. If we mix everybody, the only reason why there's different genetic groups is or different religions, because there's different genetic groups that adopt different religions and belief systems so they can maintain their genetic distinction. But if we could, make maybe a world globalist forecast society where you dissolve all the nations to get everybody to mix. Once everybody mixes, then all the religions will dissolve, and all the distinction, the division will dissolve, and there would be peace on earth. That's what I wanted to say. But really, at its core, it was because I was a communist Marxist. I saw myself as Jewish, and at its core, I wanted to defeat the white race, because I saw the white race as the biggest threat to Jewish people. And, I was just a Marxist leftist my whole life. So basically what I was trying to say was like, yeah, the Bible has all those laws that are good for the poor, like, the Sabbath and, the Jubilee years where you give, where you forgive people of their debts. And that's because the Jews came from Canaanite serfs who had Marxist rebellions. They know what it's like to be overworked. So, really the Bible, but people say that these laws come from God, but they really just come from Darwinism, because, they knew that if you have a lot of stratification in society and you mistreat the poor, then there's going to be revolutions, and revolutions are bad for genes. So the Jews were just communists. And if you look at the Bible, it's just basically communism. But yeah, there is some like remnants of stuff like, the reason why there's a Kohanim is so they can maintain their genes within the genetic lines of the Kohen. And, that can maintain power within certain genetic lines. But if you really look at the Bible, if you really analyze it, it really is just Darwinism. And I gravitate toward all the liberal ideas of the Bible. Like, oh yeah. The idea that God got his name from, that comes from the Kenites, who were a tribe within that region. And, I basically wanted to take all the scholarly, liberal, naturalistic interpretations of the Bible and basically undercut and undermine the Bible and say that it was not supernatural, did not come from God, because I saw God in religion and the Bible is maintaining white supremacy. And I wanted to destroy the white race because I saw the white race as the biggest threat to the Jews. So I thought in my mind, I was like, well, I really thought the Bible was communist. And I really did want to believe that it did come from Canaanite serfs and stuff. I really wanted to believe that. And I really wanted to believe that white people were the bad guys. But I didn't realize that I was actually a Satanist, because in Hindu mythology, Satan is Shukracharya, and he's the god of Venus, the morning star, who was Satan in the Bible. And he was driven out of heaven, sent to hell. And he's a guru of the demons, the leader of the demons, just like Satan. And he wants the Dravidians, who we worship Shiva and worship destruction in Marxism, to destroy Vishnu, and the Aryans, who are Brahmins, who uphold religion and worship idols. So I was actually a Satanist. I wanted to destroy Christianity. I wanted to destroy the white race. I didn't realize that I was a Satanist. I thought I was a good guy. And in my mind, I was like, yeah, well, I like the idea of the Nation of Islam, because the Nation of Islam taught that the black man was God. And in my mind, I was like, yeah, I like that idea, the black man is God. Because my grandpa said everything is energy. So I'm like, it technically is true. Black men are energy, and they're the original man. Because I wanted to subscribe to the naturalistic ideas that black men were the original man, which isn't necessarily true. And I wanted to be like, oh yeah, because I saw myself as Jewish. So I'm like, yeah, they're the gods on the earth. They're the mate. Because what I wanted was the black man to overcome and overthrow and destroy the white man. So I thought that the idea of like, yeah, the black man is God, and the Jews. Why do Jews love black guys so much? All my friends growing up, my Jewish friends, they loved the black people. They always were best friends with the black people, supported the black people, so into the black people. I go to like the Reformed synagogues, and there'll be the Jews with the black kids and having the blacks, and always like it's almost like a worship of the black people is what Judaism became, and especially the Reformed Judaism, and not necessarily the Orthodox, the conservative, but the Reformed. But I was like, why is it that Jews love black people so much? And I was like, maybe a big reason, and I tried to think of the Nation of Islam. I'm like, well, maybe the black man is God, and the Jews worship God, and God is the black man. Like, I was trying to think of it that way, because they recognize it. But, I was like, well, my grandpa does say that God is energy, so the black man in a way is God, because he's just the original energy. And yeah, white people would be God too, because they're just, everything is God because it's just waves of the ocean. But, the black man's the original man. I just wanted the black man to overthrow the white man. So I subscribe to the naturalistic Darwinian ideas that all the races came out of Africa, and they're all inbreds from out of Africa, and the African are the rich, diverse, original man, and everyone else is just inbreds. And I wanted the black man to just overcome and race mix and just destroy every other, especially the white race, because I saw the white race as the biggest threat to the Jews. So I like the naturalistic ideas. And like I said, when I went to Israel in 2012, and they're teaching me that, the story of the Bible is true, and that the black people come from Ham and stuff, I hated that idea, because I'm like, dude, that's just white supremacist. And I saw religion as white supremacists and maintaining the white race and maintaining the status quo. And I wanted to destroy religion, because I wanted the black race to prevail and the white race to fall. I was a Marxist. So, so basically that was my my motivation. And so, and I hated it. And like I said, so like the Salem witch trials, I didn't want, like, if you were to tell me about this, I wrote about this on IMTV Central, like the Salem witch trials. I was like, yeah, it wasn't really demons. They weren't really possessed. The reason why, because I didn't want to believe in the supernatural. I didn't want to believe in religion or spirituality. My grandpa would say the flow. Maybe those girls were not in the flow, and they developed, psychoses or whatever. But regardless, I didn't want to believe any of that. I wanted to believe that it was just suggestibility by the Christian men, who, through suggestibility, wanted scapegoats through the women. So the women acted out psychosis, and I wanted to believe that all psychosis was kind of suggestibility by the psychiatrist. And so they acted out psychosis in order, but a religious type form of psychosis. I thought that all, like, exorcisms were this, where people will act crazy, but really what they're doing is they're suggestible, and they have a motivation to maintain the status quo, so they act out the religious fantasies, like that they're witches or that they're demon possessed and stuff. And then that maintains the belief system and the belief structure of the community, which I saw as the white colonialists. And then they're able to maintain and solidify, and then they could fight against the Indians, and they can maintain their belief in Jesus that will strengthen them against the Indian threat. And even the women said that, the witches said that when they interacted with the devil was a brown man or was a black man. And I was thinking, yeah, exactly. Really, really, at the core of this was not truly, they weren't really demon possessed. They were really just fantasies, delusions. I was Freudian. I wanted to believe just religion, just fantasies and delusions. But there was a Darwinian element to it, that their fantasies and delusions that they were acting out were meant to solidify their tribe against the enemy Indians and maintain their genetic distinction. So I didn't want to believe in the supernatural. I didn't want to believe in anything that was not materialist, Darwinian evolution, because I hated Christianity. I saw Christianity as white supremacist. I saw religion as white supremacist, and I wanted to uproot it. And even Islam, I wanted to uproot that, but I liked Islam better because I saw Islam as promoting more race mixing. So I liked the idea of the Muslim. I mainly wanted to destroy Christianity because I saw Christianity is more associated with the white people. I also wanted to destroy Islam because I saw it as white supremacy as well and maintaining the status quo, but I liked it better. And I mainly just wanted the black people to race mix with the white people and destroy the white race because I saw them as the biggest threat to the Jews. So, but I didn't say that out loud. So when I was talking on INTP Central, I was just saying, yeah, if everybody were to just mix, then we would get rid of genetic distinction, and that would get rid of the different religions, because the only reason why there's different religions is because there's different races, and they adopt different religions or different religious beliefs to maintain their race and solidify their genetic lines. So this was my I was a Satanist. I basically was a Satanist. But I didn't know that. I thought I was doing God's work because I thought that I really did believe the Bible was communist. I wanted to believe that, and I think it's because I saw myself as Jewish, and, your perceptions are altered by your identity. And I had a desire and an intention to want to believe that. And I found evidence throughout the whole Bible that the Bible was communist. So just one more example of that would be so what I was trying to say is that the stories of Jesus were just an allegory of the destruction of the Roman Empire. And it was just a trick to destroy the Romans and save the Jews. So another example of that was, I looked at the story of Joseph. And Joseph is sold by his family, the 12 tribes, the 12 brothers, the 12 tribes. He's sold to them, he's sold to the Egyptians. So I was like, okay, well, Jesus was sold by his 12 disciples to the Romans. Okay, and Joseph's dad thinks that Joseph died. He says, oh, my son is dead. And then when he comes back to life, he says, oh, my son was dead, but now he's alive. Well, same thing with Jesus. People thought that he died. But then Joseph becomes the king of Egypt. And then he saves the 12 brothers. So I was like, he became essentially a god because they worshipped the king, Joseph became the second in command in Egypt. So he became a god. And same thing with Jesus. He became a god. And I was like, but then what happens? Then, because of Joseph, the Jews destroyed Egypt and saved themselves. And I was like, the same thing with Jesus. Christianity destroyed the Roman Empire. And I want to say the book of Revelations was an allegory of the destruction of the Roman Empire. I want to say, and it was intentional, because I want to say, and it was just to save the Jews. Just like how Joseph, he saved the Jews, and the Jews destroyed the Egyptian Empire. Well, same thing with Jesus. He saved the Jews by converting the people who were supposed to kill the Jews to Christians who would protect the Jews. It destroyed their empire and saved the Jews from being destroyed. If it wasn't for Christianity, my hypothesis was the Jews would have all been killed by the Romans. But Jesus saved them from their sins. The sacrifice, the lamb that saved them from their sins, the Passover, same Passover that happened in the Egyptian, in the Old Testament. So I wanted to just completely uproot and undercut Christianity, say it was just a Darwinian trick. I believed in Darwinism. It was just a trick to kill the Indo-Europeans and save the Jews, the Semites. So I'll get more to this in the next lectures, and I'll get to how my Darwinian ideas and not understanding my grandpa's metapsychiatry ended up backfiring and almost destroying me, and now I have a different understanding.